Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Arsh Ellahi, and I'm very privileged to have a good friend of mine online this evening, a person to the name of Neil Ward. Neil, are you there?
Yep, can you hear me okay, everybody?
I can hear you. Okay, and before we start, one thing that we do on almost all webinars is just make sure that everyone can hear us correctly, clearly, and loudly. So, in the far right hand side of your screen, you should have a little grey box, and if you can just confirm that you can hear us clearly and loudly, that'd be fantastic. Okay, a few people saying, yeah, all good. Um, we want to get moving so that we can give you guys a lot of content this evening, and hopefully with a view of you guys being able to actually take away a lot of information from it. Okay, so everyone's saying
Is the sound okay? Is the sound okay, Ash? Can everybody hear okay?
yeah. According to so far everyone that's mentioned, yeah, all good, got no issues, yeah, loud and clear. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about basically what is the rent to rent model, but more importantly, some of the killer secrets as to what's allowed us to generate so much cash flow from this strategy. Now, I'm going to let Neil disclose shortly where he's actually doing this webinar from and why this strategy alone has allowed him to do the things that he's doing at the moment. So let's keep moving forward. So I'm not going to really introduce too much myself because a lot of people know who I am and what I've already done. Um, so my name's Arsh Ellahi. I run a group of 10 stroke 11 companies with my brother Aki Ellahi, and together we're landlords and letting agents. We've been letting property a hell of a long time, since 1973, and we've got well in excess of 500 tenants, all on benefits. And I'm quite proud to be able to boast that we've got a 100% rent collection record and a very high 98% occupancy rate. Now that's just me in a nutshell. I giving you a shameless plug that yes, I do run some workshops on the LHA masterclass, how to maximize your rent from the LHA side of the business. I also teach people about how to set up HMOs correctly. When I say correctly, I'm one of the very few people around the UK, if not the only one, who, when setting up a HMO, passes all the bills onto my tenants. Um, so yeah, or after I've paid off my mortgage, all the rest of the money that I generate from the property is pure cash flow. Now I run a lead generation company, which is a deal sourcing business, as well as assist with raising finance because I'm actually in bed with a very good bridging company, so I can help with that. Finally, one of the things that I was quite proud of in 2013, I got asked to write a monthly column in a magazine called YPN Magazine. Does everyone subscribe to it? And if you don't, just let me know, and I can get one of the guys to give you a quick call, and then maybe I'll send you out a free copy of it. So this is one of the articles that I wrote earlier this year. It's about rent to rent, which is what we're speaking about tonight. And our question, was it really worth the hype? Because you get a lot of people think that they're doing it, but in actual fact, are they doing it correctly? And providing that you do it correctly, you can actually make a hell of a lot of money out of it. Now, in the bottom right-hand corner of this, where it says example one, if you look at this little house in the picture, you'll show that over 7 years, this property will generate a cash flow of £50,000 of a property that we don't own, but we simply just manage. So I'm going to pass you on to Neil, who's going to tell you a little bit about who he is, what he does, and more importantly, what he's hoping to teach you at the end of tonight's session.
Great. Okay. Firstly, can everybody hear me clearly? Because Ash was a little bit echoey there with me. So can you just type in the box if you can hear me okay? Yeah, Ash, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, so far, yeah, all good. Yeah, everyone's saying fine.
Okay, fantastic. So my name is Neil Ward and I started in property in 2005. So it was actually 10 years ago now, almost to the day that I bought my first property, which was a single let property, 2-bedroom house where the lady had died. And here's the first lesson for you all. So I hope you've got notepads and pens with you. The first mistake I made was paying market price that the agent had put the house on for. So I paid a little bit too much for the house. It had just gone on the market, and I was the first one to view it, and I bought it straight away because I was so itchy to get my first house. But that's how I got started. And the second mistake I made was that I did the renovations myself, which meant that I was paying £500 interest every month on a mortgage payment and not doing it very, very slowly. Whereas if I just hired a tradesman in the first place, it would have been done very, very quickly instead of 9 months or however long it took in the end. So that was a lot of interest that I paid that I could have saved. So from there, I went on to purchase more properties, and the way I did it was quite simple. I added value to each house, and then I remortgaged. Now, back in 2005, 2006, the market was completely different to the way it is now. In 2005, 2006, some of you will remember this, you could get 110% mortgages. That's not a joke, 110% mortgages. So if you saw a house for £200,000, you could get a mortgage for £220,000 and pocket the difference. It was crazy, and in my opinion, it's one of the things that contributed to the market crash as well. It was just a crazy time. Of course, that doesn't exist anymore. We don't have anywhere near those sort of mortgage rates. So I just went from there to purchasing more houses, releasing equity to increase my portfolio of houses and flats. So that's what I did over the last 10 years. I actually stopped purchasing in sort of 2008, 2009 during the crash, and I've started again in the last year as the market's been going up again. Because there's some areas of the country where property is booming right now. The Midlands is one where Arsh and I invest, and it really is booming. Prices are going up so quickly that it's just insane. So that's a little bit about my property background. In terms of my work history, I joined the British Army straight from school at 17. At the time, I didn't have good grades. I was never very intelligent at school, so that was really the only option that I could see for myself with the knowledge I had at the time. From there, whilst I was in the Army, I realised that I actually had a very good entrepreneurial head, and that's why I purchased my first property at age 19, 20. So I had a very good entrepreneurial head, and I've built on that over the years. I'm always educating myself and improving my knowledge, and I now own quite a lot of different businesses, and I also invest in other businesses. So in terms of entrepreneurial knowledge, property, business knowledge, I've got quite a lot of experience. The other thing I do is marketing consultancy, which is key in property. So if you don't know how to do your marketing correctly, whether you're looking for deals or rent to rent or houses and things, then you will really struggle. So this is why I help people with their marketing. And of course, the thing I'm most well known for is a sales trainer. So I work all over the world as a sales trainer, and I've probably trained somewhere in the region of 20 to 30,000 sales people now. So that's what I'm most well known for. I've also just handed over the title of Entrepreneur in Residence for Coventry University, which was a great job. If we go to the next slide, Arsh. And then let's talk about rent to rent then. So I became most well known in the industry for acquiring 5,000 within the first 5 months. So that's net, not gross. And of course, I've over doubled that now after the time I've been doing it. And my sort of target for 2016 is 18,000 net. That's per month. And if you think about that, doing rent to rent, earning 18,000 a month net, that seems absolutely crazy, those sort of numbers. And when I first thought about these numbers, I thought it'd be very difficult to achieve. But actually, if you've got a system, it's very straightforward, and it's not difficult at all to get to, well, certainly hitting sort of 5-figure mark. It's not too difficult. It's just leveraging on the properties. If you're making, say, £1,000 a property, that's only 10 properties to get you to sort of £10,000 a month. Even if you just have one or two, for most people, that would really supplement their income. And of course, I work with Arsh, as well as doing other seminars. I work with Arsh, delivering 4 training days with Arsh, rent to rent, the sales and negotiations, which Arsh sort of twisted my arm on to do that, and deal sourcing, and also setting up a property business. So that's a very quick, brief rundown on my background.
Okay. So this is something that me and Neil try and do because we like to understand who we've got online. So if you can, just in the right hand side of your box, if you can put in there, what would a rent to rent business income do for you and your family? Why is it that you're here? What is it that you want to accomplish out of the rent to rent strategy? And if you look on the screen, we've given you a few examples, but we really want you to dig down deep and not just give us the generic, oh, I want to be financially free, I want to escape the rat race. What is it that you've got a burning desire to do? And then Neil's going to tell you about how this has actually managed to transform his life. Okay, so the first one to come in straight away, and I think it's a great answer. It says, to be a mom to my kids.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful.
Exactly. So that you know what, to be perfectly honest, that's a fantastic way of putting it. Get a good income, resolve finance problems, and give my children a better lifestyle.
Yeah.
A lot of it today is based around family. I want to
Yes.
be a boss and change my family life. I'd like to replace my husband's income so he can do something he loves rather than something he has to do.
You
Okay.
know what's quite interesting as well, Arsh? I don't know if you've noticed, but the last sort of 5 or 6 testimonials that have come in from the rent to rent training, where people have been saying, I've now replaced my income, they're all from ladies. Have you noticed that?
Indeed.
It's quite interesting. So, okay, good, good.
So, yeah, so everything today is predominantly around family. Because previously we've had a lot of people that just say, I want the lifestyle, or I want to do this with the money, or I want to do that. But it's good to see that people here are actually saying, well, actually, I want to do something for my family.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've kind of hit the nail on the head there, Neil. So here, Neil's going to talk about what his commitment was and how it's helped him do what he needs to do. So Neil, over to you.
Thank you. So my commitment to everybody that comes on any training, and that includes a webinar like this, my commitment to you is to help you to get to what most people never really either understand or get to, and that's getting to happiness. So there's lots of different ways to do that, but the main reason and the main way to do it is through acquiring more money in your life. Now, and that's what quite sort of controversial. Most people say money doesn't create happiness, and that's true. Money doesn't create happiness, but what it does is it gives you freedom. And why do people want freedom? Because freedom makes you happy. If you look at anything, anyone's goals, and you really dig down deep into them, you'll see that what they're really looking for is to get to happiness. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but the way I do it, and it took me a long time to find what my life purpose is, but for me it's about getting people to have more happy lives. And the way I do it is by acquiring more money for you, because more money leads to having better health, stronger relationships, which is what we've been talking about, closer families, more time so you can be a mother to your children. And it's about being able to, have adventures and travel a lot. So Arsh said at the beginning that about travel. So I actually just landed last night in California. So I'm over here in California now, where I spend a few months every year, and I'm getting married in a week to my fiance, who's Californian. So for me, it's a big thing, family, travel. And I remember back to when I had a 9 to 5, and this sort of lifestyle would never be possible. Even looking back and looking forward from that time, I didn't think I'd ever be in this position. But it's amazing when you've got the right system, the right mentors, how fast you can get there. It's crazy. And then you can have that time to be able to travel, to have closer families, to have stronger relationships, to have better health. Because how can you have these things if you're working a 9 to 5 that you don't enjoy? It causes you stress, and you're commuting every single day. It's just not possible to have all these things.
It's true. Neil, you still with us?
Yeah, yeah. I was just pausing there for next slide, but
No, no problem.
yeah. So I'll let you talk on this, Arsh.
Okay, fine. What we're going to do is just so that we've got everyone um, on the right page and so that they completely understand everything from the bare basics. We're going to just take it one step back and say, what is rent to rent? For those that don't know, rent to rent is a strategy where you approach a landlord, so you don't own the property. You're approaching the owner who owns it with a view of hopefully renting it off them or managing it for them, and then renting it out by the room, who will then live for tenants who will live in the property. Now, it's very simple. You approach the landlord with your proposition. You have to do some work to the property, or you may have to do some work to a property to enable it to multi-let. And then you rent the property out by the room for hopefully more than what you're paying the landlord, which will give you a profit per calendar month. And the reason why I like the strategy is because, believe it or not, it is very, well, I always call it risk-free. Just imagine that you've got a single let, and just online, who's got a single let, by the way? If you can just let us know yes or no, that'd be great. Okay, quite a few saying that you've got some single lets, some saying that you're quite new to it. Now, on a single let, if that property becomes vacant, it means that that property is no longer generating you any income and is sitting there void. And regardless of whether it's sitting there void, you've still got this thing called a mortgage, which you have to pay month in, month out. Now, just imagine that you decide, in a standard room, for this example, we're going to say it's a four-bed property where you've got a living room, dining room, kitchen, and bathroom. Now, if you decided to multi-let it, potentially you could create five bedrooms using the living room at the front of the property on the left-hand side in the bottom as another room. So you've got 5 rooms each, and if you let them out individually, you could potentially charge, depending on where you are, anywhere between £300 and £400 a month. And for this example, we've chosen £400, which 5 times £400 a month is £2,000 a month, which is great, which is a great rent. Now, traditionally, it's always been said that you should operate at all bills inclusive model. So technically speaking, after you've paid, let's just say that you're paying the landlord a rent of £850. Now that leaves you with a cash flow of £1,150. But then if you have to pay the council tax, water rates, electricity and gas, and potentially broadband, let's just say that we put a figure of £350 a month. That means you're still generating a very handsome profit of £800 a month. Now the beauty of it is that even if one tenant leaves, you've still got 4 other tenants in the property generating you an income. And whereas with the single let, if a tenant left and the house was empty, you would never know when you were going to get another tenant to move into that property, which meant that you never know how long the property was going to be void for. Whereas with a HMO or with this strategy, you've always got people living in your property, which means that in theory, it should always be making you money. And the reason why it works is so simple. Because when you buy a property, that means that you have to go, either the traditional method would be that you go to an estate agent, you view it, you put your offer in, you have to wait for it to be accepted, then you have to go off and get your mortgage, then you have to wait for the solicitors to do their thing. And generally, the whole transaction takes anywhere between 28 days and 3 months, which can be quite an itchy and quite an intense period. Whereas with a rent-to-rent strategy, providing that you know how to approach the landlords direct, you can meet them that day and you can walk away with the property that day and the keys, which means that no mortgage is required. You don't require a solicitor or a mortgage surveyor, and even better, because you're not buying the property, you don't require a deposit, a 25% deposit. And let's just say on average, in Wolverhampton, average house costs approximately 100,000, between 100 and 200,000. Now, if you're buying a £100,000 property, that means that you would require a £25,000 deposit. Whereas with rent to rent, you're not buying it. All you're doing is you're simply managing it on behalf of the owner, which means that very little capital is required up front to get going. And it's so easy to create a very profitable business out of it. And Neil went from 0 to 5k per month very quickly. And the beauty of it is that if you were to purchase a property, you can't determine the terms of the agreements. The mortgage companies will say it's either this way or no way. Whereas with rent to rent, as there's a bit of flexibility, you're offering to take the property off a landlord. Landlord wants you to take it off them, but obviously it's got to be commercially viable for both parties. So there is room for negotiation there. So you determine the terms of the agreement. Now, Neil's going to take you around just a couple of his properties very quickly, because we want to get to a point of giving you some strategies as to why this really works really well. So Neil's going to tell you about who he's taken this property off, how long he's taken it for, and what he's done to it, and more importantly, how much he's making off it.
Great, thank you, Arsh. So this was one of my first properties, and it was an interesting one. I'd already done a rent-to-rent agreement with another person, a friend of this person. So this man was an accountant. He's a very nice guy, but you know, like accountants, they're very numbers orientated. So he was really all about the numbers as opposed to anything else. And I made him an offer of 600 and I think it was about £600 guaranteed rent. And he basically said, "Are you taking the mick, shall we say, with an offer like that?" Because he was getting £1,300 a month currently with having students in there. So he was getting 1,300. I offered him 600, and he basically laughed me out the door. But what happened was, I knew he was going to say no to the offer. There was no doubt in my mind that he was going to turn the offer down. But what I was doing was I was planting a seed. I was planting seeds all the way through the talk with him when I met him at the property. And what I wanted to do was introduce certain seeds of doubt to the current way he was doing it, and to show him different options for the future of how he could have less hassle and possibly even more money by doing it with me. So you may think, how could you possibly offer him more money if he was getting 1,300 and you're offering him 600? Well, it's quite simple. He was getting £1,300, but his first month's fee to the agent was £1,300, 1 month's rent. He then had an 8-week void every year through the summer. So straight away you can see we've gone from 12 months, he's now getting 9 months. He had on average about a month's worth of maintenance and repairs as well, wear and tear, new carpets every few years. So you see where this is going. He then had a 12 to 13% management fee per month with the agent. Then there was VAT, then there was, you know, everything else that he had to do. So when we really looked at it, and I showed him my calculator, which, by the way, I give to everybody, the calculator showed him that he wasn't getting 1,300 a month. He was actually getting 700 a month, or it was somewhere between 650, 700. So my offer of 600 now became a lot more appealing. Of course, I wasn't looking to get the deal straight away from him at this point, because it wasn't too late for him to get students, and I wanted to wait a little while until he got a little bit more desperate to move the property. So he's had this property for 4 years, and he again decided this year, no, he wants to rent to students. But what happened was, and this happens to a lot of landlords, the 1st of July came, and for any of you that rent to students, you'll know that as soon as you get into the summertime, if that property hasn't rented, it's very unlikely that you're going to get a group after the 1st of July. The groups have all gone usually by April, May time. So he panicked straight away and gave me the property. This property had 3 bedrooms. If you go to the next slide, Arsh, had 3 bedrooms and 2 reception rooms. So I offered him a 3-year lease with a 10% rate rise for year 4. Now, the reason I offered him a 10% rate rise is because being a sales trainer, I understand how people think in terms of money and negotiations. So I knew that if he did accept my offer of a 3-year agreement, at the 4-year point, rent rates will go up. There's no doubt about that. Rates go up, they don't come down. And he may then think, right, we're coming to the end of the 3-year agreement. There's a chance, okay, there's a chance that he may want to give that back to the letting agent for students again, because he'll get more money. So I didn't want that. So I offered him a 10% rate rise so that when it came to the 4th year, he wouldn't be on the fence. It would be, okay, it's not worth going back because Neil's doing a fantastic job with my property and I'm getting a good amount of money. So we eventually agreed on £680, which is very, very low for a property like that, £680. The rooms rent out, as you can see there, 475, 440, 400 and 375 per month. So in total, it's £1,700 a month, or just over £20,000 per year. Next slide. So here's the figures then. £680 to the landlord, £330 in council tax and utilities. The refurbishment on this was £1,300. Now, when I say refurbishment, I didn't actually refurbish the house. All I did was painted it. The £1,300 is furniture. So if at the end of the 3 years he decides that he doesn't want to continue with the agreement, what have I actually lost? I've lost nothing, really. A couple £100 in paint, if that. It didn't even cost that to paint the house. But all the rest of the furniture I still own. That TV, that coffee table, that sofa, that lamp, the little vases and things, I own all of that. Okay, so even though I invested £1,300 into the property, that money I can pull out at any time. So the rental income minus the cost comes to £680 per month. So the break-even point was 2 months. And I know a lot of people teach rent-to-rent to go through letting agents, and that's all they ever teach. But there's a reason that 50% of the people that come on the training have already done a rent-to-rent course. And it's because going to letting agents doesn't work in the majority. It works for a couple of people, but for most people it doesn't work. So that's why we teach direct-to-vendor strategies. And that's what it costs to acquire that. Nothing, not a penny to acquire that property. I didn't pay an agent £500 or £1,000 of a sourcing fee. I'm not paying an agent 10% every month. I didn't pay them another first month's rent and deposit. No, it didn't cost me anything. Next slide, Arsh. So these are a few of the before and after pictures of rooms that I've spotted online and contacted the landlords and got rent to rent. So the top left was a room that was on spare room, and I knew even at the very, very low cost that it was on for, it would never go. I renovated it. Well, as you can see, I didn't really do a lot to it. Everything in there is exactly the same. I just added a couple of bits of furnishings, which cost me the best part of £50. And that room went for £375, whereas before it was being asked £200 and it didn't go. So I rented that within a few hours for £375. The middle one, again, another refurbishment. The end one, that was a student house that I saw. It was empty, as you can see why. It's quite run down and old. I put in a new bed, a new desk and chair and lamp, canvas for the wall, a blind. It didn't cost me very much at all, and that room rents for £400. So it's quite interesting. People, we'll talk about this shortly in the content slot. A lot of people are always asking, Neil, how do you get £100 over market rate for your rooms? So when we get to the content slot, we'll talk about that. If we go to the next slide, Arsh. So here's the interesting thing. For those of you that know the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all those, a lot of conspiracy theories around them, there is one thing that they do very, very well, and that's that they own very, very little, but they control pretty much everything. So if some of the richest people in the world adopt that strategy, do you think that might be a good strategy to adopt? To control everything without owning it, to make massive sums of money without having any risk? I'll leave that question with you. So Arsh, I'll let you take over.
Okay, right. So whether this is your first time hearing about rent to rent or whether you're a seasoned pro, this is now your opportunity or your chance to ask us any questions on our secrets to having created a six-figure rent to rent business in just under 12 months. Now, just so that we can say that we follow up on all of our students, and one of the students on one of our last courses has actually achieved well in excess of £4,000 per calendar month in their first month. And today, I was only actually reading. Neil, did you see the post from Susie?
No, I didn't actually. Susie Bates?
Yeah, she's just agreed her first deal on a 6-bed HMO, and it's going to cash flow just under £900 a month.
Wow, fantastic. So there's another lady.
Yeah, so in that respect, people are doing it all over the country, and this is the beauty about it. Because there's not a lot of capital input required, all it requires is your time to be able to find the person, approach them with your proposition, and get moving. Right, okay, so first person has asked, first of all, is how do you find your deals?
Okay, good question. We're actually going to show you a mind map shortly, and it's pretty insane. So, as I was saying, I'm a marketing consultant, and where everybody else a few years ago went online, everyone was talking about online marketing this, online marketing that. There's one strategy that I've always followed that I heard from Warren Buffett, and he always says, when the herd is going one way, you go the other way. And I always followed that, and it's always done me well. So when everybody was going online, I went offline. So I really developed my offline marketing skills. So I don't do any online marketing to get rent-to-rent deals, which is quite interesting and will surprise a lot of people. All of my marketing strategies are things like writing letters to landlords. So here's a really good one that I came up with a long time ago, and I know it's used by pretty much a lot of people now. And that is, if you see a house that's in your target area, and of course this is a few hours of the course, we talk about gold mine areas, how to find the perfect houses, tenants, areas, sizes, everything. When you find a house in your gold mine area, and it's got a for-let board up outside, you don't go through the agent. What you do is you go on the land registry and you do a title search. So when you're doing a title search, you pay £3 and it will tell you everything you want to know about that property, whether it's got a mortgage, who the mortgage is with, who the landlord is, where the landlord's home address is, not the property address, their home address. So when you've got that sort of information, it's very powerful because you can write to that landlord directly, a personal letter, which again, I'll give you the template, everyone gets the template. And the interesting thing is that people who don't succeed are the ones that change all of my templates. I don't get that. It's a flaw in our brain, in my opinion. A lot of people, they'll get a perfect wheel and they'll try and reinvent it. You don't need to invent a wheel. A wheel is already flawless in design. So that's what you do. You simply take a template, you send the letter to the landlord, and the landlord replies. There's a couple of other bits that we do, which is quite unique. We don't sort of type letters up and type envelopes and things like that. It's mainly handwritten envelopes with red. We have special stamps that we put on, so it's to be opened by addressee only. And there's a lot of stuff to it. There's a lot of psychology in the letter as well. So when some people say, "Well, I write letters and I don't get results," yes, it's because you don't understand psychology and copywriting. When you understand certain things, you'll get a lot of deals. So that's just one simple offline strategy. Other ways is word of mouth. Now, some people might be thinking, "Oh, I've heard all this before." Well, yes, but have you actually adopted it? Word of mouth, whenever I start a new business, is always the slowest thing. It takes a long time to build up. But once you build up and you're doing a fantastic job, people will talk about you and what you're doing. It was only a few weeks ago I was in the salon and the hairdresser was cutting my hair and he was saying, "Oh, by the way, I was speaking to a lady a couple of weeks ago about what you said about the house and renting it, and she's really interested. She's got a student house that she really struggled to rent last year, and one of the rooms was empty, so she didn't really make any money on it. So I mentioned you to her this year, and she said she'd be really interested in talking to you." There we go straight away. So it's just word of mouth putting it out there. But I actually designed a mind map, and it's funny. Everyone that sees the mind map goes, "What the," their mouth opens because it's huge. You could work on the strategies on that mind map for years, and you'd still never get through everything. There's just so much on there. So when people say, "Oh, I've done this and I've done that and it just doesn't work," it's nonsense. If you have a proper marketing strategy and you follow in a proper mind map, there's no way you can't get deals. It's not physically possible. So I think that'll sort of answer that question, Ash.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, marketing is not just a one-way approach, and I know so many trainers that say just put out thousands of leaflets and you'll get deals. Yes, you may get some deals, but how long will you be waiting for that deal to come through the door? Now, marketing should be taken in more than a one-way approach. Whilst you're doing one thing, you should be doing another and another and another, and you should be monitoring to see what actually brings in most leads. Now, even when I'm deal sourcing, I must be at any one point doing the best part of 10 different marketing strategies to get the phone ringing. Now, when the phone rings, the first thing I ask is, just out of curiosity, where have you heard about me? And if they say, "Oh, actually, I got your letter," I can put a little tick next to the letter because then it shows me. And then over the month, I can see what's performing, what's not performing, and the things that aren't performing, there's no point doing them. So I can use the money that I've been spending on that certain uh, direction on the stronger directions so that I can gear it up more. So, marketing is a big thing, but that's what the mind maps are there. So it's a system, and providing that you follow the system to a T, there shouldn't go anything wrong. Now, there's one person in particular on the webinar tonight that says that she continuously keeps dropping connection, or we keep dropping connection. Can we just confirm that you can still all hear us okay? Just making sure. Yeah, everyone else seems to think, yeah, all okay. Yes, no problem. So Shabs, I know that you're online, and apologies that you're having a few technical issues, but I think the technical issue might actually be on your side, dear. So if you can just get that looked at, that'd be great.
Yeah, a lot of the times, if your connection's dropping a little bit, it might be you've got too many applications open or too many web pages that are refreshing. So maybe just closing a couple of things down, it will help with that. Great.
Okay, so John's asked quite a technical question, and it's something that I might be able to help with here. As most places would have mortgages on them, what is required regarding getting permission from the lender to multi-rent? Right, okay. Well, mortgages itself is quite a minefield, but the one thing that we put the onus back on the owner. So we say to them, before they sign the agreement, they should have got something from the mortgage lender to confirm that they are happy for us to be able to manage their property on their behalf. And more importantly, should we intend to multi-let the property, that they are happy to do that. And it's also in the agreement, the management agreement that we have, that we've had drawn up specifically by property lawyers to confirm that the vendor has gone and sought financial and legal advice prior to signing the documentation. So we always make sure that the vendor has done everything that they can and in their power before they sign a document, because with all due respect, we don't own that property. We don't know what who the vendor has spoken to or who they haven't spoken to, but all we can do is cover our backsides by saying the owner should have taken all the precautions to make sure that they are happy with the agreement, and we also give them time for them to go and seek independent financial and legal advice prior to signing the documentation. That's all you can do, John. The only other option that you could do is actually sit with them whilst they make the call to the lender, which I don't think is the greatest use of your time. But more importantly, if you were to try and force the vendor to make a call to a mortgage company, I don't think you'd get the deal across the line. Now,
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, Arsh, when you finished as well.
yeah, sure. Now put yourselves in the landlord's shoe. If I approach you and you're the landlord, I said, well, do you mind if we just quickly call your mortgage company? He doesn't want me knowing your financial situation. So you have to, unfortunately, put that ball back in their court. Yeah, Neil, sorry, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, have you finished on your point there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, was it John that asked the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, John. I mean, this is something that comes up quite a lot, actually, and it's usually what prevents a lot of people getting into rent-to-rent. And I think it's such a shame that it does come up and it does stop people getting into it, because a lot of it is just scaremongering tactics from a lot of people on Facebook and other forums that I read all the time. I don't really get it, but it happens a lot. So here's what I'd say. Of all the properties I've got, and I've got a lot now, only 20% of them have got mortgages on. 20%, that's all. And here's the interesting thing. When you do your marketing the way that I'll show you how to do it, the people you will attract are not 40-year-old landlords. And if you think about it, most new landlords don't go straight in for HMOs, do they? They start with small single lets. It's the older landlord. My average landlord, I'd say, is about 65, 66, something like that. Some of them are in their 70s, a couple of them are in their late 50s, but most of them are in their 60s, early 70s. And this is why the people who want to do rent-to-rent deals are of that age group. Because if you're thinking about someone that's in their 40s or 30s or something like that, they don't want to give the property over to you. They find it exciting. They want to be in control and be doing it themselves. So you won't get those deals anyway. The deals you'll get are the older people. So there's a little tip straight away for who to target. It's the older generation. So you've got to know how to target those people. And again, most of them aren't online. They read newspapers, they pick up leaflets, all this sort of stuff. So that's the first part of it. So it makes it very easy for me. The second part is, as Arsh said, it's in the contract that they have done their due diligence and they're allowed to rent the property to us under this agreement. The third point I'd say is, if you look at our management agreement, there's only one difference between that and a letting agent's agreement. So in actual fact, what you're doing, and the way I proposition it, is it's not really much different from a letting agent, because you do not issue an AST, which is a tenancy agreement, from yourself. You're issuing the tenancy agreement on behalf of the landlord, just like a letting agent would. You're managing the property on behalf of the landlord, just like the letting agent would. So really what you're doing is almost the same as a letting agent, except you're guaranteeing them rent and you're looking after the property for them. Okay, so you're doing all of that for them. So there isn't a huge amount of difference between that and a letting agent. Now, if you were to sit down with them, they were to call a mortgage company and say, yeah, hi, this is the thing. This man's saying he's going to rent the property from me and then he's going to sublet the rooms or something like that. What do you think the mortgage company is going to say straight away? They're going to say, no, that's subletting, we don't allow it. but you're not subletting. You're managing the property on behalf of the landlord. So this is where most people go wrong, because they think that you're subletting, but you're not. You're just doing what an agent does for the landlord. And there's probably 1 million houses up and down the country that rent rooms in this way. So that's all I want to say. I wouldn't get caught up in the whole mortgage thing, because I see it day in, day out. People say on Facebook and on forums, I really wanted to get into rent to rent, but someone told me about mortgage companies and this and that, and it scares them off, and there's nothing to be worried about. I actually had one where, and this is a true story, the mortgage company called up the landlord, and they wanted a meeting and stuff, because I don't know how it all came about, but there was a remortgage done on the property, and they found out that, what we're doing with the house. And at first they were really annoyed, and, oh, we're going to repossess and all stuff. And as soon as we explained what it was we were doing, they said, oh, okay, no, we understand, that's perfectly acceptable. It's basically just a managing agent. But for some reason, it got back that it was sort of a sublet and things like that. So there was no issue at all. Now, my plan B with that was that if something did come up from that and they said, no, we want to repossess, then all the landlord has to do is say, okay, well, can I switch to an HMO product, a house of multiple occupancy mortgage product? It might cost them 1% more a month, but that's how simple it is. Is a mortgage company going to say, right, we're going to repossess and we're going to spend all this money evicting tenants and we're going to go to court and then we're going to take the property back and then we're going to put it into an auction and lose £20,000 getting rid of it fast when they're getting money every month? No, of course not. It makes no sense whatsoever. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay, that was quite a detailed answer, and hopefully you found that of interest. What we're going to be talking about now is a question that comes up quite a lot, and Ashley's asked a great question. He goes, what do you do with regards to HMO regulations, i.e. do you worry about the mains connected smoke alarms, fire doors, etc.? Now, me and Neil both have different opinions on this, because Neil likes to keep almost like under the radar, where he only takes on 2-story properties. And as you know, or for those that don't know, you only require a HMO license if it's 5 or more tenancies over 3 or more floors. So that means that you could have 17 tenants all on 2 floors, and it still wouldn't require a license, because it's 5 or more and 3 or more floors. So because it's on 2 floors, you wouldn't need to worry about it. Now, me, on the other hand, I'm happy to take properties, whether they're small, large, or extremely large, on rent to rent. And I've done deals on something as small as a 4-bed HMO going up to a 10-bed HMO going up to a 19-bed HMO, all on rent to rent. And the reason why I like it, A, it didn't cost me anything to get in. And yes, if you're going to do the larger stock where it's on 3 or more floors, yes, you will have to adhere to the HMO licensing regulations, which means that you'll need to put a grade A fire alarm system in. But more importantly, you'll have to put the fire doors in, as well as all the fire safety equipment. Admittedly, that does cost money. But more importantly, you've got to then ask yourself, and you've got to also explain to the landlord, that you are looking to upgrade their property. You are looking to upgrade the safety in their property. And whereas Neil takes agreements for 3 or 4 years, I try and take out agreements for 7 years. You can't take an agreement out for longer than 7 years, because then it has to be lodged with land registry, which causes a few complications. But if you take it up to 7 years, it's fine, and then you can renew for the same period thereafter for additional 7 years. And that's what I try and do in my agreements. I like to think that I've got the comfort knowing that if I am spending a bit of money on the property, I'm going to have a decent enough period to be able to recoup the funds. In the same respect, there's lots of different ways that you can go. And remember what I said about negotiations, and you leave the negotiations with rent to rent. In some scenarios, I will also ask landlords for almost like a rent-free period whilst I do the work. Now, in the example that I gave at the start, if I'm giving a landlord £850, now I've got 2 options here. I can say to a landlord, well, actually, I'm going to be putting in the best part of £2,000 to £5,000 worth of an equipment. You can either meet me halfway and you can put the money in, or you can give me 2 or 3, maybe even 4 months rent-free period. And genuinely, they sometimes don't want to put the money in, but they will allow you to have a rent-free period. But more importantly, if you can get the work done quickly, there's no reason why you won't recoup that money back in the first couple of months. So there are swings and roundabouts, and it's all about how you approach the negotiation with the landlord. I've got no issue with upgrading the fire alarm system, because that, for me, a fire alarm system saves lives. And I wouldn't want to be that landlord where there's an issue in a property and I've had to turn around to the landlord or a parent of one of the tenants, say, unfortunately, as a result of one of my HMOs, someone would have passed away. But that's me as a person. So I'm always happy to go over and above when it comes to fire safety. With regards to doors, doors are very cheap. You know, you can pick up a single door for £15 from Howdens, plus all the door and ironmongery. So the doors aren't really a big cost. It's when you're looking into the realms of the fire safety equipment that it starts to, you may have to spend a few £1,000s. Hopefully, Neil, you're happy with that answer?
Yeah, definitely, and I completely agree. There's only one, as Ash said, everyone laughs about me and Ash because we are yin and yang. We're very, very different, and I think it's the beauty of our business relationship. I almost said relationship there, business relationship. So I think it's really where our strengths are. In that Ash was talking about fire equipment and stuff there. Most of the houses I take on, they've already got all the fire equipment in, alarms and doors and everything like that. If they weren't in, I would just let the landlord know exactly what Ash just said there. Look, how would you feel if someone died as a result of you not having the proper fire equipment in the house? And I've never once had a landlord say, you know what, I'm not going to put it in. They always put it in, or I pay to put it in, and then I have a rent-free period for a month or 2 months or whatever it is. So yeah, I completely agree. It's just different ways that we do it, Ash.
Yeah. Okay. So just going through some of the questions. Um, okay, a lot of it tonight is actually about fire safety. Do you need to fit fire doors and alarms? Um, okay, so here's a question. I haven't read it yet. Presumably, you would want to change the rooms and maybe add a room with structural changes. I guess building regs would take care of the latter. But what about the owner's permission going in, and what happens after the term? Do you have to revert the property to its original state? Now, Neil, do you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I've just done one actually, but yeah, you can go for it.
You start first. You start first.
Yeah, I mean, I've just done one last week on the Monday, where it was a four-bed upstairs, and downstairs was a huge lounge. It was one of those really long ones, and it had one window in there at the very back at the end of it. And I said to the landlord straight away, I told him what I'd be doing with it, and I said, would you mind if I just put a partition wall in? Because I'm going to put, the carpets are coming up anyway. I'm going to decorate. And he said, oh, I'm not paying for a partition wall. And I said, no, 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 you don't have to pay a penny. I'll pay for the partition wall. It's only going to cost me, £300 or something to put it in. It's not a lot of money. And I said, and I'll put it back afterwards if you want. And he said, oh, no, no, leave it in, leave it in. And, I mean, I don't ever want this house back, because he wanted to do a 10-year agreement, which was insane, at £700 as well for 5 bedrooms. But that's another story. But so what we're doing is we're just putting a partition wall in. It's going to cost about £300 at the most. Gives us another room, and then for the door, so we've now got a lounge and a bedroom. So remember I said there's only one window. We're just replacing the door, which is solid wood, with a door that's got glass in it. So now we've got light coming into the lounge. So there's ways around everything.
Yeah, very true. And I can only echo what Neil said there, is that I've done stuff before where we've had to put partitions in. Landlords, if they think they're having to pay for it, they may get slightly skeptical about it. But if you bear the cost of that, you'll find that they will want to keep it in after, because you've just created another room in the property. Now, moving on, here's a great question actually, and it's quite relevant to new legislation coming in. So, Anon, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Hello, how do you think the new heat network metering and billing regulations 2014 will affect rent to rent? Right, okay, great question, because if you read the legislation correctly, you'll find that in actual fact, it only affects those who are charging or have put in their agreements a fair consumption or annual consumption charge. So, for argument's sake, let's just say that you've said to your tenants a fair usage scheme, so that if you use in excess of £300 worth of gas and electric, then we're going to have to pass the rest of the bill back onto the tenants for them to pay. Now, if you do that and you have that kind of system in place, then what the heat network are looking to do, they're looking to get the landlords to meter each room. However, if you only operate a bills all-inclusive model, it doesn't adhere to you. You don't have to adhere to that new legislation. So I suppose in that respect, what people will do is that they may raise their rent slightly just to incorporate the new charges. So if they know that the bill's going to be well in excess of £300, they may put their rent up by £10 a month or £15 a month by each room to recoup that cost. And therefore, it's still a bills all-inclusive model, and it's not a fair usage scheme anymore. And that's relatively straightforward. I'm just going through the questions. I think we've kind of answered most of it. A few of them were to do with dealing with mortgage companies. The others were to do with fitting fire doors. I'm just going through it, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think those really good questions, actually. Good content slot.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a few more minutes, haven't we, of slides to talk about, so probably move on.
Yeah, so Neil, if you start talking briefly about the ROI and how that works.
Yeah, okay. So this is really interesting. I want you all to type in the box there what sort of ROI, which is return on investment, you think you can achieve through adopting a rent-to-rent strategy. And you'll be really surprised here. So let's say you put in £1,000 into a house, which is usually furniture, and you can pull that furniture back out. So let's say you put £1,000 in. What sort of return do you think you'll get in your first year? So just year one, not 3 years, just 1 year. What are we getting, Arsh?
Hang on, let's just find out. Okay, someone's come straight out the woodwork and said infinite.
Infinite, yep, absolutely spot on. Infinite. What else are we getting? So let's say you spend £1,000.
Let's have a look. So, yeah, so some people put 100%, some people put 50%, which is quite low.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
So we've got a few infinites, so it just depends really.
Okay, so here we go then. Let's go to the next slide, Ash.
Oops, sorry.
Let's go through the now. So let's look at a comparable then. So let's assume that you buy a £100,000 house, which is really cheap. You put a 25% deposit in, so that's £25,000, which you've now got tied up in a house. Okay, you're getting $550 per calendar month, so $6,500 a year. Now, when you deduct the cost of the mortgage, insurance, expenses, and maintenance, you'll be lucky, I guarantee you'll be lucky if you get £2,000 of profit. A year, £2,000. Next slide, yeah. So you've invested 25 grand and you're getting 2,000 a year. Your ROI on cash invested then is 12.5%. The ROI on the whole property deal is 2%. That's all, just 2% a year. So remember that figure, 2% of 12.5. Next slide. So let's look at a rent-to-rent deal then. Let's say you invest a lot of money, so you really go all out and you put £2,000 into a house, and yet the house is a really poor performer, so you're only getting £600 a month. So you're not doing great. This is not a good house. Your annual profit is going to be £7,200 net, so that's after all deductions. That gives you a 360% return on investment in your first year. So I don't know about you, but when I hear people talking about invest in houses, put your money in houses all the time, and you're getting a 2 to 12.5% return, and then someone offers me an opportunity like this to make a 360% return, for me, it's a no-brainer. I don't even need to think about it. It's obvious. There's not a lot more I can say on it, really. If you go to the next slide, we'll show you how this accumulates as well. So, okay, you spent your £2,000 in year one. So over 3 years, I mean, look at the returns you're getting. You've spent, it goes up every year. So after 3 years, you've accumulated 1,000% return on investment of your money invested. 1,000% within 3 years. You show me any investment in the world that will give me that, and I'll invest with you straight away today, because I just don't know one that will guarantee you 1,000%. So let's look at then, let's say you spent a whopping £4,000, and that, I've never spent anywhere near that on a rent-to-rent. That's serious money, guys, £4,000. But let's say you receive a higher rent because it's a London property or it's an HMO or something like that. Let's have a look how the figures would look there. So I think I put 5,000 there. So even more, £5,000 you've invested into a rent-to-rent. I've never spent anywhere near this amount, but let's do the example anyway. But it's a HMO, so you're getting 1,500 a month. So your annual profit is now 18,000. 18,000 divided by 5,000 is still a 360% return. It's still over 1,000% a year. Do you see the potential with this strategy now, and why the people that have been doing it have been making tens of thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds over the years, and they haven't shared it? This is why. They don't want you to know about it. And it was the same for me. If we go to the next slide, Arsh, as I'm talking, it was the same for me when I first started getting into this. I couldn't find people that were making serious money that were teaching the strategy. All the people teaching it had a handful of houses, 4 or 5 houses themselves. No one that was a big player was teaching the strategy. So that's why it took so long for me to learn it and to find someone that would teach me. So let's talk about negotiations then. This is where I said at the beginning, Arsh twisted my arm. My sales and negotiation courses, so I'm out in California right now, that I run here, if you were to come on one of these courses as a sales executive, because it's not usually personal, it's not private individuals that come, it's corporations that send their sales managers and directors on this course, you would pay $3,500 for the course, for the training course, for a weekend. $3,500, okay? Well, you wouldn't pay, your company would. What I've done is I've turned this course into one specifically for the rent-to-rent market. So you're getting a full day, and this is not just lecture, this is experiential learning. It's the most powerful type of learning in the world. It's tailored completely for your learning style. So this is what I've created this weekend out of. So that's why you'll read online all the time people saying, oh, I went on this course, I went on that rent-to-rent course, I haven't got any deals. You see it all the time. Next thing, they come on my training with Arsh and they're getting deals. Why is that? Is it a coincidence? Or do you think it could be to do with the learning style and how people learn? Okay, I was never very good at school. As I said, I didn't get good grades, and it's because my teacher taught me reading, writing, and that's not my learning style. So when you understand the learning style, and this is how the course is taught, so it hits every learning style, you will just learn so effectively and efficiently and go out and do really well. So how many of you, here's the question, walk up a set of stairs going from step 1, jump to 7, then jump back down to 3, then up to 6. You get the idea. I'm being silly now, but no one does that. So yet, why does everyone do that in sales negotiations? It makes no sense at all. Next slide, Ash. So what I show you, and this is what most other trainers won't tell you, is that without negotiations experience, there is no point at all in getting into property as a full-time career. No point whatsoever. I'm just being honest with you all on the webinar, because you already know my commitment. I told you at the beginning, it is a caring commitment. It's to create happiness. It's to help you to get money and achieve your goals. If you're not going to do a negotiations aspect and you haven't got that training, you will never be highly successful in property. I know that's a bold statement. but I'd rather just be honest with you, and I wouldn't really want people to come on any of our trainings if you're not going to sort of do it properly and learn everything you can, because I wouldn't want to see you fail. Okay, I don't like using that word, but it does happen occasionally where people give up because they don't learn how to negotiate. And negotiations isn't the way most people think. I don't teach sales training. I teach people how to communicate from one human being to another human being. That's how a deal is done. It's not done with all stuff, you know, I'm not even going to go into it, but that's how a deal is done. It's from one human being to another. So most people get about 2 out of every 10 deals at best. 2. Next slide, Ash. That's what most people get. 2 out of every 10. I'm going to show you how to get, instead of getting 2 out of 10, how to get 8 out of 10. So you might lose 2. And that's a bold claim, but I'll back that up. So of the people that come on our trainings, at least 25%, it's usually anywhere up to 50%, have already done at least another course, or they've got at least 2 or 3 rent-to-rent properties. So why are they coming on our training then? That makes no sense. And this is why. It's because we share with you all the secrets to rent-to-rent success. So it's a system. We're not just teaching you, you know, rent-to-rent and you go off and do it and all that. This is a system. It's like a franchise. You're getting a franchise in us in a way, although it's not set up like that. But that's what most people say. They say the reason they came on the training and what they got from it was that they felt it was like a franchise instead of a course. You get all the systemization. And the other thing is, this is the only course I know of in property that's actually taught by a sales trainer who teaches other sales trainers. So I'm going to break everything down so you're not thinking this is another sales course. This is a course on communications. So next slide, Ash. So this is the date of our next training, and this is the last one until the winter now. And we've actually done something a little bit unique and special on this. So you'll get to this as we go through the slides. This is quite a special one. So these are just a few of the things we're going to cover on the first day. How to dominate your gold mine and actually find it. Most people teach this, but they don't teach it correctly. There's a lot of things you need to take into account when finding the gold mine. It's not just find an area, doing a little bit of research and going for that area, because that's where most people, again, they fail. There's a set way to do it, and once you know how to do it, you will just be laughing all the way to the bank, because you'll always have properties coming in, you'll always have your rooms full, and you'll be making a very nice cash flow. Next, how to get in front of a large amount of landlords. We're going to show you all the marketing, you're going to get all the mind maps, I'm going to show you how to negotiate. Then we're going to show you how to create a very high-end finish, which is what I was talking about, how I get £100 over. So I'm going to show you how to get £100 more than the market rent and to spend less money doing it. How to be legally compliant. So what John was asking, I'm going to teach you all of that. So we've got all the correct legal documents, show you how it all works. And here's the interesting things, avoiding the pitfalls. So many people, and you know, we can't talk about specific people, but it'll be people you know, property experts that call me and Arsh every week who are in trouble because they've done rent-to-rent the wrong way. They haven't been legally compliant, they've done the wrong agreements, the wrong contracts, the wrong tenancies, they've done it completely wrong and they get into trouble. So we'll show you how to do it all properly. Next, how to calculate the numbers. Okay, I'm not good at numbers, it's not my strong suit, but I'm going to show you a really simple way that you calculate all the numbers with the calculators and stuff we provide. And then I'll show you how I made 5K in 5 months. You know, I could say here how to make 15K in a year, but I'm saying 5K in 5 months because it's a smaller number and it's achievable. Next slide. Okay, so the next day, so that should say the 14th. So this is the next day. And this is all about buying patterns and sales psychology and the process for going through from the first letter to the phone call right through to the, you know, going through the deal with the landlord and getting that yes. It's a proven scientific formula. There's a reason that tens of thousands of people use this 12-step system that I invented. And it's because it's a proven scientific formula. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be a housewife. You can be, it doesn't matter what job you do. You may have no experience. You can still use this formula and by the end of the second day, you'll have it ingrained, because it's like riding a bike or learning to swim. If someone throws you in a swimming pool and you know how to swim, is there any chance that you're going to forget how to swim and drown? Very unlikely. You know, if you haven't ridden a bike for 5 years, but then you get on a bike, are you going to remember within a few minutes how to ride again? Of course you are. And this is the same way that you learn this. Okay, how to overcome objections. This is the crucial thing that's not taught in most places. If you don't know how to overcome the objections, it's going to be very slow to get going. So we're going to show you all of them up front, so you're completely armed with it. You're going to do live interactions with each other. So it's just one-on-one. So don't worry, you're not in a big group and people are going to see you. It's just one-on-one with other people, and you keep swapping. So all of you will be in the same position. And then, of course, the 12-step sales formula. Next slide, Arsh. So this is the event. It's a pretty big event. This isn't a small event like, say, the deal sourcing where it's very personal. This is a big event, very big energy in the room. We usually have at least 70 people, with 40 people streaming online as well. So it's very popular. People do this course from all over the world. Next slide. Okay, so this is the negotiations day, this really is the bonus day, and this is bigger than the rent-to-rent day, because people come from all different courses to come on this negotiations day, because it's just not taught anywhere in the market. We're asking you to learn about negotiations from a sales trainer. It's just not out there. So this is the second day, and you can see from the two screens how big this event is. It's absolutely huge. Next slide, Arsh. Okay, so this is where we get to sort of numbers. We can only fit 75 people in the room. That's all we do for this. As soon as you get over 75, sort of, I'd say 80 to 85 is okay, but once you hit 100, it's a bit too much. It really is. It's difficult to control the room and questions and stuff, so we don't go over that number. So each time, because we only run these about 3 times a year, and it depends on mine and Arsh's schedule as well, it books up quite quickly. But Arsh, you checked today and it was 26 seats, he said, left as of today. So we have got those seats available. So this will be the last one for the summer now, and then the next one will be winter this year. So next slide, Arsh. So Arsh, I'm going to let you whiz through the last few slides then.
Yeah, okay, cool. So like Neil said, we are running the event. It's on the 13th and 14th of June. Now, something that me and Neil haven't done previously is that we've always run our courses from a West Midlands location. Now, we got bombarded with so many people saying that we're based in London and we can't get down to you, or in a location where we can't travel down to. So we thought, well, what best other than taking it straight into the capital? Now, just so that we can show you that the proof's in the pudding, here's a few people that have been on some of our courses. So these are guys who are on Facebook, and straight after that they came on the course, they went straight online and saying that they gave us a fantastic testimonial. Now, the lady in the top left is a person that I'm extremely proud of, because Deborah came to us and she actually said that completely new to rent, and the week after she absolutely smashed it. She met one landlord who automatically gave her 32 properties. That's right, 32 properties. So within a week of coming to the course, within a week of leaving the course, taking in all the content and the knowledge and the sales training, she went out, she put it into practice, and she made her money back within a few minutes. Now, again, here's a few more testimonials, and Susie Bates is the one on the far right-hand corner, and she today, again, has gone out, and she's done me proud again, because she's taken on a 6-bed HMO, and you can see it because she's just listed it out on her public profile on her Facebook, and she's saying that now on the property that she's just taken on, it's going to be clearing a cash flow of £900 a month. Again, some more. Now, if you go to other rent-to-rent providers, there are lots out there and you will find that a lot of them offer a one-day course for well in excess of £600. So what we've done is something extremely special. Yes, we're in the capital. Yes, we're in London. So there is no excuse for you to say.
Just go back a slide, Arsh. Arsh, just go back a slide. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we are in the capital. We are in a place where you can reach us. We are right next to Heathrow Airport. But more importantly, whereas other guys are teaching this for in excess of £600 for one day, we're going to give you both days for £595. And more importantly, as of tonight, and Neil went mad at me when I put this up, to be fair, I've said that if you book tonight, and for the action takers, simply just for tonight, if you approach us tomorrow, the deal will not be there. You can bring a guest for absolutely free. That's right, 2 people for the price of 1. So that's the 13th and 14th of June next month. 2 people come for the price of 1 for a price of £595. Alternatively, if you don't want to come on both days, you only want to do one or the other day, you can pay £395 and again bring your business partner for free. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at with anything, with any business, you've got to remember that I'm a director of 10 companies. Now, if I didn't have systems in my business, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I wouldn't be able to have time to write for magazines, do deals, have properties on the go, have developments on the go. But I've systemized it as well as Neil has into mind maps, marketing, so that everyone knows exactly when we purchase a property, when we go out and find a property on rent to rent, what to do. So my staff know exactly what to do when we've taken on a property. And it's all listed here. So you get direct access for these. And all you have to do, if you want to book on to the course for the 13th, 14th of June, is go onto my website, which is arshellahi.com/events/R2R. There'll be 3 tabs on there. There'll be a rent-to-rent day, there'll be sales and negotiations, or there'll be something called Neil Ward special offer, weekend special offer. And that's the tab that you want for both days. Now, we're going to offer something completely free as well. Now, I've been letting properties for well in excess of 15 years, and I found that in order to run it successfully, you've got to have some key documentation in place in order for you not to have any voids, bad debt, or rent arrears. So I've created a shed load of templates and sales templates, as well as management agreements, as well as documents that you need to be a successful landlord. But more importantly, we're going to upload also the property management agreements that we use. So the agreements that's cost us well in excess of £3,000 to create onto this USB, which you can have for free as well tonight, just by booking on tonight. And I can't stress enough that the offer is only for tonight. We've only got a limited amount of space and we want to book out. It's our first time in London. We're not leaving London until we know that we've sold out. Importantly, the learning doesn't just stop in the room. After you've finished the event, we invite specifically the people who have come on the course directly into a private group on Facebook, which all our course delegates have been on. So you get to speak to previous course delegates, figure out what they've done, how they've got their deals, how they've done, what deals they're doing, how much are they making, and more importantly, you can post questions in there. And me and Neil log in there a couple of times a day, and we answer any questions that you guys have got. So the learning doesn't just stop in the room; it is almost like continuous learning. So what kind of rate?
Arsh, you just missed something again. Go on, go back.
Sorry, what did I miss there?
So for anyone that books on tonight.
Ah, yes. You'll also get a one-on-one session with Neil after the course. So I appreciate that the day is going to be the weekend's going to be a long weekend, and there's going to be a lot of information that you're going to take on board. Now, after the weekend, you get that time to implement the information, and then you're able to then book a one-on-one session with Neil after the course, where you can ask him some questions. So if you weren't sure of something in the course, and we haven't had time, or we haven't got around to answering that question, whatever it may be, that's your time with Neil, where you can ask him that specific, or you think you need further clarification on something. That's your time to ask Neil that question. So, what's your return on investment on the course? For an investment of £595, which would be the equivalent of 1 month's cash flow on a deal, you get 100% return of investment on your first deal over the first month. Where else do you get a return on investment like that? Again, the dates are the Saturday the 13th, Sunday the 14th of June. The courses start at 9 a.m. and they generally go on to approximately 5, but then you'll meet us in the bar after. So you can ask us all the questions and we can just let our hair down and socialise. So on Saturday, we run the rent-to-rent advanced training. On the Sunday, we go through the sales and the advanced negotiations. And again, 595, we're allowing you to bring 2 people. So yourself and 1 other person. 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, and on this, guys, just to add, in terms of the cost of London, if you just go back a slide, Ash, in terms of the cost of London, I don't know if you know this, but the day rate on most hotels start at £100. That's the starting cost, and then you have meals and everything else included, right? This is what it costs us, not you. So if you think about it, you've got 2 days, 2 people, at a minimum of £100 each. It's going to cost us. There's not a lot in it for us. So you've got to think, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this when we've got to bring all of our equipment? We've got to do, we've got to bring our own staff and all that. And again, it's because what Arsh and my commitment is a commitment to each and every one of you. Why we do this. We make a little bit of money. Obviously, you wouldn't want us not to make a profit. But the reason we do it is because this is what we do. This is our commitment. We want to help people. We don't want people to keep going to these training courses and with other people and leaving and having wasted their money, because it drives me mad. It's the one thing I can't stand, seeing people going to training courses, paying thousands of pounds, and they haven't got a clue what to do with the knowledge they've got, or the information has just been crap. So that's why we're doing it for this low price. That is a ridiculously low figure when you take into account it's going to cost us £100 a head over 4 days, and then we've got to pay for your meals and stuff, and the materials, and all the equipment for the day. It really is a good deal. So if you go to the next slide, Ash, and we'll show you what else you're going to get.
Okay, Neil. One thing that I've just got to put in there is that I've just flicked over to the questions, and someone's just put. And I hope you don't mind me mentioning you, Nahida, but she put, I'm so scared to make the first move. Now, Nahida, I'm so glad you said that, because now's your time, basically. Now's your time, make or break. You've identified that you want to do something in property, otherwise you wouldn't be on this webinar. You've identified that you want to get to a point of financial freedom. Now's your time. Now, if you miss this opportunity, you may have now just put this opportunity off for another 3 to 4 months until we run it again later on in the year. But think what you could have done within that 3 to 4 months. Could that 3 to 4 months got you to financial freedom? Here's what I'm going to do. If you're really scared to make the first move, you make the first move and we will handhold you through the process. We will get you, well, we won't get you your first deal, but when you get your first deal, or when you go to meet your first landlord, if you want a bit of telephone comfort, I'm sure I can persuade Neil to give you a bit of telephone comfort before you go to meet the landlord. Just to reassure you, what are the questions you ask in the landlord, what you say to the landlord, how you bring the property back in, what you do to the property, how you make the property your own, how you make the cash flow for it. So I thought that was a great question.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just add to that, there wouldn't even need to be any persuasion, as Ash, you already know that. Um, People just call me all the time, ex students, students that have been on the course. If you're going for a deal, I'd expect you to give me a call so I can, just in case you got any questions and stuff, and just so I can help you a little bit. It's already a given. So it's not like a lot of trainings where you can't speak to the trainer afterwards. Okay, I have calls non-stop. My phone's on silent right now because otherwise it would have rang. I don't even know how many times, from people that, from different trainings and stuff. People just call me all the time. This is what my purpose is. It's what I'm out to do for people. So let's go to the next slide, Ash.
Okay, just before someone's asked that, does this include overnight stay and meals? It includes all your meals during the day whilst you're with us in the course. Unfortunately, it doesn't include overnight stay. We have negotiated a preferential rate for people who come on the course. Normally, let's actually go through. What I'm going to do, Neil, is if we can start moving on to the hotel.
Okay, well, we don't want to skip the package because it's important people see what you actually get from the day. So you obviously get your first day rent-to-rent training, okay? You're going to get the sales training day, which is specifically tailored for the rent-to-rent. You're going to get the management agreements, which costs over £3,000 to create. All the legal documents, all the templates, all the letters, the adverts, everything you need to put out there. You're going to get the USB from Arsh, with his 20 years experience of all his documents and spreadsheets and templates and everything like that. You're going to get your meals each day, all the meals that you get. You're going to get membership to the secret group. You're going to get a one-on-one call. You're going to get some Skype coaching, which is lifetime support as well. So it's priceless, really.
Yeah, I can only echo that. Now, we're quite rare and respect that there are some payment options, and we appreciate that we're best part of 4 weeks up until the course. So we're allowing you to either pay in full, or alternatively, what you could possibly do is pay in monthly installments, or I think that should have said weekly installments, but the payments must have been received prior to the start of the course. And again, we use PayPal, so we accept all major cards. Now, here's the location. We're going to be at the Park Inn, which is a Radisson hotel at Heathrow. Location is London. So everyone should be able to get to Heathrow. Everyone knows where Heathrow is. It's very reachable by all means and methods of transport. I think you can get a direct train to Heathrow. I think you can get a tube to Heathrow. I'm not so sure. Not so sure when what the train times are, etc. But London is a great, and more importantly, you get to make a whole weekend of it. Why not enjoy the nightlife of London on the Friday or the Saturday evening? So again, we're at the Park Inn in Heathrow, and you can, as part of the hotel package, you actually get to take advantage of the spa facilities, gym facilities, and the luxurious rooms. Now that kind of brings us towards an end of tonight's webinar. And one thing that me and Neil do, which is quite rare, we actually put our mobile numbers at the end of our presentation, so that if you are thinking about it, but you're still not 100% sure, you can give us a quick call. But just remember that the offer ends this evening. So,
well, let's give people a day just to 24 hours just to bring the partner in. But what we'll say is if you do want to come on, just send Arsh an email just saying yes, I'm interested, I want to come on, or just book it today. Because once the seats are gone, they're gone. But we want to see some commitment from people. We want people to come, message us 3 weeks down the line and say, yeah, now I've decided I'm going to come. We want to see commitment, because people that take forever to make a decision on coming on a training, they're usually the ones that take forever to get into the strategy. So the quicker you start moving and acting, the quicker you get through deals.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good advice. No, I hope you don't mind me putting this, but one lady in particular has just put is that she can't find anyone to come with her,
Okay.
and she said if anyone would like to partner up with her, then I can put you in contact. So there's an opportunity for you. Normally, we don't allow that to happen because normally you should bring a business partner or a marital partner with you. But that's an option that I'm willing to put out there just for this evening or over the next day. So the rest is now up to you. Normally we only talk for 60 minutes, but tonight we've given you a full 90 minutes, and I'm hoping that you would have found that the content slot and the content that we've given you this evening of great value.
Yeah. Have we got any more questions specifically on booking onto the course? Because we've already covered a lot of questions on strategy. Have we got any? We'll just a couple more questions. If there's anything on booking the course, we'll cover those and then we'll end for the evening.
Okay, right. Here we go. Miriam, I've found you a partner. Miriam, Simone would like to partner up with you. I've actually got quite a few partners.
Oh, okay. We don't want everyone partnering up.
Yeah.
Goodness me, I'll end up paying for the course at this rate.
There's a few people, like I say, and yeah, there are a couple of people that like to partner up, but in the same respect, ideally we'd like to try and keep it so that you bring a business partner or marital partner.
Yes.
But yeah, I suppose in that respect, what we can probably do, let's see what we can do. But more importantly, what we can do is that if people want to book on, you may want to bring your partner with you, which we allow you to add on at a later date. Alternatively, we could try and get people to partner up as well. So the aim is to get you guys financially free. And we can only take you so far. We can only show you what we've done and how we've done it so far. The rest now, guys, is up to you. Neil, is there anything that you'd like to add? Can you just...
No, I just want to thank everybody for coming on the webinar and spending some time, with me and Arsh this evening. I hope that we've helped you in some way to move forward with where you want to go with your life, whether that's more clarity you've got today, whether it's just opened up a new idea for you on what you can actually do and how it is possible to escape the rat race and be your own boss and have your own business. So whatever reason you had for coming on, I hope that we've moved you some way towards that this evening. And again, you've got my details. You've got my Facebook and my phone number and everything like that. If you want to make contact with me, I'll be happy to have a chat with you. Skype is probably the best option at the moment as I'm over in California for the next few weeks. But yeah, more than happy to talk with any one of you. So thank you for sort of spending time with me this evening.
Fantastic. On that note, ladies and gents, what I'll do is I'll leave. I'll get in contact with Shabs and Simone in the morning, and then in the meanwhile, if you girls can just send me an email, which is on the bottom right hand screen. I'll tell you what, if you all send me an email at the bottom right hand of your screen, what I'll do, we'll try to make whoever wanted to try and partner up, we'll try and make that happen. What we will be insisting on is prompt payments, and let's get you moving. Let's get you on the course. More importantly, let's get you to financial freedom, which is the end goal. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no other questions on the course or on Rent to Rent, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time. Again, my email address is on the bottom if you'd like to send me an email. And we wish you all the very best of luck, and hopefully we see you at an event in June in London. Neil, have a lovely rest of the day in California, you lucky sod. And no doubt I will speak to you very soon. Have a good evening, guys. Take care. God bless.
Good evening. Bye.